What's up, guys? I want to take the machine gunness of an RX7 and the mininess of a Miata and make a little mini machine gun. Now that you get the picture, I'm going to go over my build, the steps that I'm going to take, and the estimate cost. Granted, it's not going to be like an exact cost because I'm going to miss out on a few small things here and there, but it's just going to be generalized. I'm going to go as I go down the list. Since most of the parts probably haven't been touched since the car was manufactured in 1991, I'm going to have to do an overhaul. So for my step one, I'm going to be upgrading my supporting components like radiator, suspension, differential, drive shaft, you name it. My step two, I'm going to be talking about my engine and transmission work, how I'm getting it done, where I'm getting it done, what I want to do with it. And step three, obviously I'm going to get to the engine prep, like the bay prep. So sanding it down, welds that I need to do on it, painting it, looking nice, relocating grounds, And step four, I'm going to be actually talking about the swap itself completely, probably not too in depth. And then five, I'm going to be talking about like aesthetics, like paint, cosmetics, and probably a turbo kit. I want to see which one, depending on my budget, because I'm not a millionaire, not made out of money, but this is putting kind of a budget on me. So I've heard a lot of good things about BC racing, coilovers and all that. I wanted to give it a try. I like the adjustability of it. It's literally just turn knob on it. Granted, I know there's like other brands out there, but since that's like the most like recognized brand of like all the friends that I've talked to, other people I've talked to at car meets and all that, they're like, yeah, I got PCs. So I'm gonna give it a shot, hopping on the bandwagon, quite pricey, but from what I've heard, it's worth the buck out of the bang, So they're running around $1,400 for the NA Miata. And for my control arms, I'm going with the V8 Roadsters, just the complete set, tubular set. You could use your stock like control arms and all that from the Miata, but mine's super old and rusted, and I'm gonna be putting a lot of abuse on the car. And not just for peace of mind, I don't want to put all this money into my car and then like my freaking control arm snaps and then I'm spinning out, and last thing I want is either me to die or, most importantly, the car that I'm pouring all this money into just getting absolutely destroyed. That would probably break my heart. That will break my heart. For sway bars and the brackets, I'm going with the set that I found on Flying Miata, a reputable brand, so I'm going with that. I like them, so I'm sticking with them. And that's running around $620 with tax and shipping, maybe more, maybe less. Goodwin Racing has these brackets in stock. Flying Miata has them as well, but they're currently out of stock. So I bought them off of Goodwin Racing, and they're basically like just support for the sway bar brackets, because the stock ones have a tendency to break. Mine are broken. Then for wheels and tires, I'm not a big flashy guy, like, oh, I need to have real rims. I quite frankly don't care. As long as they don't break, I'm fine. I'm not cranking out 1,000 horsepower, so I don't need to get forged stuff. Like, I was looking for forged stuff, and like the very few things that I could find for the Miata are like stupid expensive. I'm not made of money, so I'm gonna go with some Fitment Industries that I saw. Bought 5 wheels and 5 tires because I want to have a spare just in case. Can never go wrong with that. And like some protection plans and all that. And I was running around like $3 grand. I went with the Falcon tires. They're pretty good performance tires and kind of not really all season, but it'll do for Florida and Alabama and Georgia. I'm in the southeast, that's where I'm at. I'm not getting snow, so I don't really care for that. Maybe rain. But my rack and pinion is leaking like there's no tomorrow. It's leaking from anywhere and everywhere, so I'm just gonna buy a new one from, I believe it was Detroit Axle or car auto parts. I'll be leaving links down below on everything. That's running around $430. So the stock 1.6 differential housing, you know, would hold up for a certain amount of power until it snaps. So when Mazda made the RX-7 way back when, and then Miata came out later, they basically used the same housing, same mounting points, same bolt-on patterns and everything for the actual differential as well too. But they made the Miata significantly thinner, like 3 times as thin. They put these little notches there. So if you have too much torque, it'll just crack right there. You know, don't want that, especially if I'm gonna put an RX-7 engine in there. Might as well put RX-7 drivetrain in there, you know. We'll get to that later. But I want stronger differential housing, so I'm going with a non-turboed FC differential housing, swapping out the bushings for the Miata bushings, and putting in a 4.1 torsion limited slip differential. So what I have written down is that, like, the lower the gear ratio I have, the higher the overall speed on top gear, but the overall acceleration would be lower. So for 3.9 gear ratio on a 5-speed transmission, roughly around 3,200 RPMs for cruising at 70 miles an hour. For the 4.1, cruising at 70 miles an hour, be at 3,400 RPMs, and the 4.3 for 3,600 RPMs. I kind of want the little sweet spot. I don't want too much like takeoff power and then lose on the overall speed, and I don't want to lose too much on the takeoff power and then have a lot of overall speed. So I'm going with like the happy median, which is the 4.1, and I'll be slapping that onto the RX-7 housing because same bolt-on patterns, it's literally the same housing, just thicker and stronger. And I'll be putting in new drive axles as well. Now the beauty about this is I'm going to be using the FC transmission with the 13B. Makes sense, right? So when Mazda made these transmissions, obviously they're like little modules, you could just interchange them and all that. But the actual middle piece, I believe it's called the intermediate piece. I might be wrong on that, don't know. It's actually the same as the Miatas. So they kind of share the middle part of the transmission, except the RX-7 gears are like a lot taller than the Miatas. It's still gonna be a little bit of work using the Miata transmission onto a 13B. So to alleviate some of that work, I'm just gonna use the RX-7 transmission and just swap the tail housing, because you can just swap them out. So the Miatas is like probably half the size as like the RX-7, or like 3/4 of the size, something like that. But it's just so that way I'm able to use a 1.8 Miata's drive shaft, because for some reason I think the 1.8 and the 1.6 are slightly different, and since I'm using a 4.1 torsion LSD from a 1.8 liter Miata, I have to use the 1.8 liter Miata's drive shaft. Makes sense. I don't know, it could be the same. Don't know, I was just reading off of like different forms, different measurements and all that, and this is what I can come up with. I may or may not be right until I go and actually test it out. I'll let you guys know in those videos. I'm not a master mechanic. I'm trying to do as much research as I can and basically trying to put this together for the most part on my own. The drive shaft was about $105. I think I had to get a new water pump housing because the old one was kind of corroded. Like literally it just snapped in half. It's fine, you know. Got a real good deal on that engine. I'll get to that later. But that was like $100 for new housing. And I got the 13B S5 from a 91 RX7. Yeah, from Yoshi Sakamoto. He's from Chicago. Solid guy. You know, he delivered the engine and transmission to me. Actually, like, super grateful for that. Solid dude, really chill guy. You know, it's his own business. He runs with his pops. I'll leave his info in the description below, so that way, like, You guys can check him out. But that's literally all he does. He sells like rotaries and all that. Again, don't waste his time. Solid dude, he's running a solid business. Don't do no sketchy shit, come on. Like, for my subframe, I went with the Lucky 7 Racing subframe. I believe it was like around $2,000. Coming out of California, it's like literally custom for any Gen 2 13B for the NA. They also make for the NB as well. For my ignition coils and my ECU and my wiring harness, I'm going with the Haltech 1500 series, and that was running around like $3,100, $3,150, something like that. For my radiator, I was like, screw it, doing the overhaul, brand new everything, new hoses, new thermostat, new fans, new actual radiator itself. I was running me around 620 from Mishimoto. Again, not an expert, but heard it's like one of the best. I put a deposit for around $2,000 for my engine to start getting work done. I believe it's like $5,500 total, maybe more, maybe less, depending on the work. And my transmission, I still haven't gotten a price for that yet. But at minimum, I have already spent 20.6 grand, not including like the smaller stuff like differential seals or I don't know, like any other small thing that I've missed. You know, I don't have everything off the top of my head. I tried writing everything down, might have missed some things. Now on to step 3. I know step 2 was a mouthful, but now I'm on to step 3 after we've got our costs and all that. You know, after I take everything out completely, and I'm gonna gut the car completely, I'm gonna sand it down. You know, we gotta use I believe those walnut shells, crushed walnut shells, because the metal is actually so thin on the Miata that sand would actually damage it. I think that's just for the exterior. I'm not sure about the interior, but better safer than sorry. I'll spend that extra money just to make sure I don't like screw something up just because I didn't know better. So I'm gonna play it safe and use walnut shells. I'm gonna sand it down, take off the paint, re-weld, because I know I'm gonna have to raise the firewall around 3 to 4 inches so I can have clearance for the exhaust to come on over. Don't want to go under the transmission because it's going to be closer to the ground. You know, Florida, Alabama, there's some hills, and we all know the potholes that are going on over here in the South. So that's just asking for trouble. So I'm going to raise the firewall, go over the transmission because sorry about that. So the 13B's exhaust comes out on the passenger side or the right. Yeah, if you're sitting in the car, right side. If you're standing looking at the engine bay, left side. And the Miata comes on the opposite side, on the driver's side. So you're just gonna have to cross those. But yeah, I'm gonna relocate some grounds because I don't like how some of the grounds are directly underneath the clutch, slave master cylinder, and the brake booster as well. And the actual container for the brake fluid. Literally anything that leaks is gonna fall right onto that. And that's actually what's causing some of my electrical problems. I fixed it, but to avoid those problems in the future, I'm just gonna relocate it. And then I'm just gonna paint it up, thinking of having the same Mariner blue color on the inside. Then it's gonna come to the actual swap. So I'm not doing everything at once because I don't have all the time in the world. Believe it or not, I'm pretty busy. I probably only have the weekends to myself. So every weekend I'm gonna be knocking out, you know, one thing. Like let's say this weekend I'm gonna knock out coilovers. Next weekend I'm gonna knock out whatever comes in, control arms. Following weekend, wheels if they come in. You know, it's not gonna take long, but it's still something. That way I'm chipping away at every task. Whew, sorry about that. I had to drink some more water. I've been like yapping a lot. throat's getting dry. So, where was I? Yeah, every week I'm gonna be doing something. So like, maybe tomorrow I'm going to actually swap out the 4.1 differential and put it onto the RX7 housing, change out the bushings and all that, and get it ready for install on the car, including the drive axles, the seals, and making sure my hubs are okay. You know, eventually when I have like a 4-day or something like that to myself, that's when I'll actually like take everything out, gut it out, you know, spend like a half a day like sanding everything out, getting it nice, you know, and then painting it. I know it's gonna take more than half a day to paint it, but it shouldn't take me more than half a day to just sand everything, clean everything, and take everything out. And then, you know, eventually when I have more time, I'll be able to just swap it out and then just throw in the new motor, throw in the new transmission, you know, with subframe of course, and run my wiring harnesses and all that, you know, and get cooking, you know. Honestly, I don't know much about rotaries. You know, I'm pretty new to this. Everything I know is literally just from like Google. But we all gotta learn somewhere. So I took the time to call multiple rotary shops around me within like 150 mile radius, and I went with RJS Preformance. He's a veteran-owned company, solid guy, very knowledgeable. You know, has a cool shop. You know, he eats, breathes, sleep, you know, rotary. He's a solid guy. You know, working with him now, he's the one taking care of my engine right now. I told him like, hey, I don't know much about rotaries, but this is what I want to do. This is the project that I want to do. You know, and it just so happened that like he worked on, you know, someone trying to put a rotary in the eye. So like he was kind of guiding me on like, hey, like this would be better than this. Like, I don't know, like he explained to me what an EGR was on the 13B. I didn't know if it was necessary or not. You know, we could do a bleed on that. You know, I know in other cars we can, but again, I don't know much about rotary. But he's a solid guy. He's taking the time out of his day to like answer any questions that I have, you know, especially when it comes to like buying parts that I know I'm gonna need. He'd be like, oh no, that's included in the rebuild kit, or you know, don't go with this is trash, go with like this part from, let's say, O'Reilly, something like that. So he's been taking care of me, you know, guiding me the right way, telling me what I need to know, you know, and bonus information too. Like, I don't know anything about manufacturing, like machine work or anything like that, but that's what he does. He specializes in that, and you know, he's very knowledgeable. You know, just don't waste his time. Straight to the point. You know, he's Ranger. You know, so any other military bros out there, you know, like he'll take care of it. You know, he looks after his brothers and all that. You know, solid guy. I do recommend going in. Like, it's been, again, solid guy. Like, you know, not just because like he's working on it, but he has a passion for this. This is his passion. And personally, with previous experience, not just in cars, but just anyone who has a passion for something would always outperform somebody who just like has natural talent and just wings it, or just doesn't give a crap, you know, just because they have that natural talent. He has that passion, he has that background, he has that experience. He knows a lot of other like rotary guys, like mechanics and all that, like tuners and all that. So like, if you have any questions like that, you know, and he's working on your engine, you know, he's a friendly guy. Like, hit him up, you know. But I do recommend going through him. I've been having a really good experience with him so far, and I look forward to future projects. And now the final step, still trying to decide whether if I want to turbo the car. I obviously want to turbo it, but I don't know if I want to get it nice and painted up, because I don't know if you guys could tell, like on camera looks alright, off camera looks horrible. Like, it looks beat up, dude. Like, it looks like a 32-year-old car. Paint stripping off, clear coat stripping off. It's just like stained everywhere, dents everywhere. You know, it's definitely showing its age. But to clear up some space and, you know, I guess have the project car feel to it. I'll change out the bumper, you know, especially when I put in all this new stuff because the old one's sagging a lot since it's broken. All right, sorry about that again. So I'm gonna wait till how the performance is. I understand like 13B is gonna be pushing like what, 130, 140 stock, something like that. It's not much, but it's better than the 95 horsepower that I have in this 1.6. It's like a little less than double. So I'm gonna see how it is, like, especially since there's gonna be a weight difference. I don't know by how much, because I know the 1.6 is a lot bigger and heavier than the 13B. You know, I'm just gonna get a feel of it, see if I'm ready for the turbo or not yet, you know. Don't wanna jump into a stupid amount of power and then just not ease my way into it and get familiar with the car. Because since I'm gonna be changing everything from like suspension to like power to everything, like it's gonna feel like a whole new car. Since I will be doing all those changes, you know, I wanna learn like what are its limits now, since I have a lot more newer things. You know, being an old car, I know its limits now, you know, what to push, what not to push, when to push it, how far I can push it, you know. It's gonna be different when I change all this stuff. But yeah, I'm super excited. Can't wait to show you guys the progress. Yeah.